OK, let's talk more about, was it leaks, was it hacks? Did Russia do it, didn't they? I'm joined by media analyst Lionel, who's on the right of our screens there. Also, columnist for The Hill, Brent Badowski, and the Executive Director of the Ron Paul Institute, Daniel McAdams. Welcome to you all. And I hope we'll have a lively and interesting debate to all get your chance to speak. I'd like to start with you first, Daniel. At the Congress hearing, we heard it once again. The US intelligence community is certain that Russia played a role in hacking these emails. They haven't produced the evidence yet. It seems to be stuck in the Christmas post. We're assured it is coming, though. Next week, I believe, is the latest estimation. Do you believe these claims are justified?
Well, I think the rule of thumb should be that anything the government says is a lie until it's proven true. Certainly that is true when it comes to the CIA, which makes a business of lying. So I wait to see the evidence. I doubt there will be any. Thus far, we've seen very, very little. The Homeland Security report that was supposed to be a smoking gun was absolutely fizzled. So I'm very skeptical that we'll see anything conclusive. And they're already walking back. They're talking about a multifaceted campaign rather than a hack. So I think this is just more propaganda. OK. Brent, last week the FBI, Homeland Security, published a joint report on this alleged Russian hacking. Let's just, first of all, before I ask you, let's just listen first to what the former NSA technical director said about this report.
It was a good outline of how phishing-type attacks or attacks occur, but it didn't say anything about who did what to the Democratic National Committee or when they did it, how much data they took out, where they sent the data, did they pass it to WikiLeaks, and so on. It did none of that. It also didn't give any of their IP addresses, MAC numbers, people's names, or anything else, all of which they should know about these people, and they aren't divulging that. So it's just a way to alert system administrators to watch out for this type of attack. That doesn't prove anything.
So we heard an awful lot there from the former NSA technical director about what wasn't in this report. Brent, what do you make of it? Can you overcome those doubts there? Do you think it is a credible report and these are credible claims?
Oh, yeah, I think it is a credible report and they are credible claims. And I would emphasize, and this is the most important thing I can convey to our audience tonight, virtually everybody in Congress, including Republicans and including Democrats, believes that the intelligence community, all 17 agencies, are correct when they unanimously say that Russia involved itself in our election through hacking and other means. They believe that Russia did it for the purpose of electing Donald Trump. They are not saying that it had any effect or not. That's not what they're saying. But the most important thing I can say right now, I mean, President Putin is not in the habit of seeking my advice. But the advice I would give, which I think is sound advice, is he would be well advised and Russia would be well advised after Trump is inaugurated to make some major overtures to the United States, not just Trump, but to Congress and the American people. Because if they don't, the sanctions will not only remain that Obama put in, but they will probably get toughened, because Republicans, as I wrote in The Hill today, agree with Democrats that it takes a tougher position as long as we're on this collision course.
Brent, I just want to interrupt you there because I can see Lionel shaking his head. I just want to give him a chance to respond.
Sure, go ahead. I'm sure he was shaking his head.
What hacking? What hacking? I have been watching this, reading this assiduously, with a microscope, since it was first said, and time after time after time, it has been said unequivocally that there has been no evidence of any hacking. There has been evidence of wanting to affect, wanting to perhaps affect voters' views through social media, dare I say. But when you ask the question, was there evidence that Russia, Vladimir Putin, a Russian, somebody who speaks Russian, anybody broke in and affected the election? No. Was there any effect on the election? No. Votes? No. What was it exactly? Well, we can't really say what it was. So what we're doing right now, and what you just heard is, American and Western media remember the headline, and they will repeat in a Pavlovian kind of a dorsal circuit, this obeisant Russian hacking, even though I have not heard anybody even vaguely point to where this even happened. So
yeah, Lionel,
what we're doing
I think
right
that's the
now
power
is
of advertising you're talking about
we are a
there.
series of
Yeah, the power of advertising. I just want to move across, if I may, to
we're just
Daniel.
reading headlines.
I just want to move across to Daniel because the point that Lionel's making there, are we missing the wood for the trees here, Daniel? Because everyone's talking about who may have done what, instead of talking about the content, which was really damning in some of those emails.
Well, I know it may shock your viewers, but you know what Mr. Budowski said earlier about everyone in Congress believing it. I hate to break the news, but everyone in Congress gets their information from the Washington Post, and the Washington Post is the #1 purveyor of fake news. That's why Congress is so ill-informed about this matter. They have absolutely no real information. The Washington Post makes things up. They do it all the time. You know, the whole idea of the hacking, as Lionel said, where is the proof? Hacking is a propaganda term. It's meant to elicit a reaction in the minds of Americans. What exactly happened? You're right. Americans got information that was very important to learn about them. One of the pieces of information they got is that one journalist who was posing as a journalist, who happens to be on our show, was busy writing love letters to John Podesta throughout the campaign, promising to do what he can to get Hillary elected. That's the real hack, the hacked journalists.
Brent, I just want to get your reaction to this, because in the content of the emails, I mean, we had things like the Clintons won't forget. That's nice to know if you've paid them a contribution. Also, Hillary's got bad instincts, according to John Podesta. Do you not think we should be talking about that kind of information?
No, I just want to correct that latest lie that was just said about me. Anyone who read my emails to John Podesta knows they were not love letters. Again and again and again, I said why Hillary was screwing up, why her campaign was making mistakes, what they need to do differently, or they're going to lose. So please, if you're going to go ahead and attack me, I'm over 21, I can deal with it, but don't lie like that.
Well, at least somebody's talking about the content of the emails. Hang on, Lionel, you want to chip in? Go ahead.
It's not an attack, it's simply a statement of fact. It's simply
no, it's not a statement of fact. You're lying again. They were not love letters. They were not love letters.
Guys, let Lionel speak, please.
I would have, if people read them themselves,
they
would
may
see
not
what
be
they were.
billets doux.
And many have.
Excuse me, sir. With all due respect, they may not be a billet doux, as it were, but you, sir, I charge you with daring to affect the course of this election by influencing voters, by opining and providing the truth. You know, this is beyond funny now. I mean, this is surreal. We're going to cue the psychos
I'm a
theme
columnist.
pretty soon here.
I'm a columnist, Lionel. Columnists offer opinions. That's what a columnist does, son. I mean, I don't know where you're picking up this stuff. And by the way, there is overwhelming evidence. There is overwhelming evidence of hacking, according to 17 independent American intelligence agencies. You know that's true. And if you don't, I don't know where you're getting your news.
Okay, well, Brent, you've expressed an opinion there. Let Lionel respond, please.
Sir, there may have been hacking. Let's talk about WikiLeaks. It was WikiLeaks and the Podesta emails that was malware. Listen, you're throwing these terms around very loosely. Now, I'm going to go back to one thing which is being missed here. Let's assume, let's assume, would you hold on, please, sir, I beg you, let's assume that there was hacking. Fine. The next question is, that which was hacked or leaked, whatever it was it true? How is this incriminating evidence incriminating? That's the next part. It's like extortion is only extortion if it's true. So what we're doing is and the world apparently, are missing the entire issue here. Nobody affected the election. The 65 million plus Americans who voted for Donald Trump did so without any consideration to any imaginary hack that took place. What are we talking about?
Okay, Lionel says it's an imaginary hack. Let's hear what Julian Assange has had to say about all this. Let's play this.
Our source is not the Russian government, and it is not a state party. This is something a 14-year-old kid could have hacked.
Brent, everything that Julian Assange has done in the past hasn't really been challenged. People accept that he's been revealing truths to the world. Why is nobody paying attention to what he says?
Oh, no, it has been challenged, but that's for another show. People are paying attention because what happened, and I will repeat this for emphasis, the overwhelming Republicans in Congress and Democrats in Congress who will decide what to do with sanctions agree with this. What happened was an attempt by Russia to intervene in an American election and to demean American democracy. Now, if you want to stop the sanctions, and if you don't want the sanctions to be escalated by Republicans and Democrats in Congress, almost all of whom agree with what I'm saying, virtually none of whom agree with what Lionel is saying, if you want the sanctions to be removed, and if you don't want the sanctions to be escalated, which right now they probably will be, regardless of what Donald Trump says or wants, then what Russia should do is reach out to the United States.
Brent, in all fairness, you're asking the Russian government to defend themselves against accusations with no proof. If this was a court of law, I wouldn't fancy being on trial in America.
There are things the Russian government can do that don't require defending themselves that will be interpreted as good faith gestures. But I'm telling you, Lionel, you don't speak for 5 members of Democrats or Republicans in Congress.
Go ahead, Lionel, you respond.
But when you denied there was hacking, and now you admit there was hacking. At least we agree on that.
No, I said assume. No, for the sake of argument, it's called a rhetorical question. Listen, the bottom line is this. Why are we going after Fox News and Sean Hannity? Sean Hannity was there aiding and abetting, counseling, procuring, and hiring, acting as accomplice, if you will, to Julian Assange, who admitted doing the hacking, whatever it was, or the WikiLeaks. Why are we talking about Russia? Why are we talking about Fox News? Why are we talking about RT? Do you even know the players here? Do you read the story? Do you believe the plot of this great mystery of what happened? Again, I want you to point out to me, just somebody telling me, where was the hack? Where was it? Where was it, the DNC? And number 2, if something was hacked, let's assume I hacked something which was extraneous to the system. What information was used to compromise anything? I say, for the love of God, there is no story here.
Well, Lionel, perhaps if we listen to outlets such as the Washington Post, they claim, Washington Post claims to have a lot of answers, and I know that, Daniel, you're good friends with them. They uncovered a vast conspiracy. More than 200 alternative news outlets were spewing lies. Your organisation is considered a tool of Russian propaganda. What did you make of that article? What do you make of the Washington Post?
That seemed like some kind of a psychological operation in itself. The organization that was cited by the Washington Post on the November 29th article, prop or not, has itself ceased to exist, essentially. They've not written a word since then. It looks like something that was simply put up for the purpose of making this argument, of discrediting not just the Ron Paul Institute, but we're talking the Drudge Report, Zero Hedge, Counterpunch on the left, Consortium News. These are major alternative and independent news sources. The intent of the Washington Post is to shut up any other organization that disagrees with the Washington line. And that is the problem, and that is extremely dangerous in a democracy. I think my other 2 guests here would agree with me that silencing alternative media is very dangerous in a democracy.
OK, he's going to be your next president, whether you want him to be or not. Donald Trump is at the centre of all this in one way or another. Let's hear what he's had to say.
Despite US intelligence officials telling us that digital fingerprints indicate Russia was behind US election cyber attacks, Donald Trump remains skeptical, and this is raising questions about Mr. Trump's ties to Russia, so much so that many are suggesting he's being played by Russia.
They're trying to delegitimize Trump administration as it goes into the White House.
OK, it wasn't actually Donald Trump, but they were talking about Donald Trump. Trump does enough talking of his own about himself. Do you think, Brent, that this is an attempt to delegitimise the new Trump administration? It seems like the outgoing Obama camp is doing everything it can to make life tough for him. Is this just another element of that?
Well, what the Obama administration is doing, and I agree with what they're doing on this, is they impose sanctions that Donald Trump will not have the power to overturn. He can reverse it by an executive order, and Congress will actually want to do much more than even Obama did.
Why not just leave it to Donald Trump if there's going to be sanctions needed? Why not just let him put them in?
Well, Donald Trump can do what he wants, and Congress will, whatever Trump does. At this moment, okay, is it my turn to talk? I'll be glad to yield the floor to Lionel here.
Lionel, sorry, you wanted something to say there. Go on.
Look, without due respect, sir, this is circuitous. You keep saying the same thing over. We have the sanction, you do whatever he wants, and Russia should reach out and say hello. Okay, that's fine. Look, it comes down to simply this. As somebody who is a political atheist, who has nothing to do with parties, who doesn't even believe in parties, it seems to me that as the president is leaving, it's what was called in old folklore the Parthian shot. You know, where you were retreating and you turned around and you fired away. It's like, as I'm leaving, I'm going to throw everything I can into the mix. I'm going to go on TV and say that it's hopeless. I'm going to go on TV and say now that there are hacks to try to maybe help, what, Hillary? So maybe she doesn't realize that perhaps maybe she lost this. Again, all I want to do is simply this. Have somebody come forward and say, this man will testify under oath. Yes, I broke in, I stole the elections. Guess what happens? Actually, Trump got 15 votes. Hillary got the rest. Here's the evidence. This was a hack. Fine, tell me. But the idea of somehow, by virtue of social media and influencing,
Okay, Lionel, I get your point. I just want to give Brent a chance to respond to that. Brent, we've been burned in the past by, I can think of a few US presidents where we placed a lot of trust in them and turned out they weren't telling the truth. Don't you worry you're placing too much trust in all these officials?
Oh, no. I have eyes that see and ears that hear, and I know a little bit about this business. Is it my turn? I'll yield the floor again. But I just want to make this point. 17 different American intelligence agencies have all said there was hacking, there was interference, it was for the purpose of electing Donald Trump. That is a unanimous. Oh, come on, let's be over 21 years old here. You know how this works.
And if I was accused of something, I would want some evidence.
You want to deny it, you can.
I don't deny it. Give us the evidence.
I will guarantee you this.
We'll broadcast it here on RT. I look forward to it if it's there.
I will guarantee you this. Whatever I think, whatever Lionel thinks, whatever the Ron Paul Institute thinks, Congress is poised to increase the sanctions above what Obama did, regardless of what Trump does. Regardless of what any of us say, because that's where it is right now. That's what they believe. Now, they can deny things from head to tail. And again, Vladimir Putin does not ask my advice, but I would suggest that we can overture now.
Can we get Daniel's response to this?
This is exactly how the... Yeah, this is exactly how the Washington lie machine works. It's a closed circle where everyone is in an echo chamber. We saw this before. You know, Brent's talking about all of the intelligence community is united in this. Well, I remember back in 2002, it was the same thing. All the intelligence community says Iraq had weapons of mass destruction. We've got to go in and take out Saddam Hussein. They all lied. They lied. That's the business they're in. Talk to the members who were in those secret briefings in 2002, and they'll come out and say it was a snow job. Representative Hostetler, who voted against the war, came out of those hearings and said this was a snow job. The CIA is performing a snow job because they are politicized, they have a point to make, and if you don't think that someone like Clapper is politicized, who's lied to Congress and the American people before, he lied twice today before Congress, if you don't think that's a politicized position, then you're living in la-la land.
Okay, I want to give Brent the chance to argue it, but you keep repeating the same point, Brent, so I'm coming to Lionel. Maybe he can defend the US officials better. Let's assume that Russia did it. Why not? Devil's advocate. What motivation have they got for wanting to have Donald Trump in the hot seat rather than Hillary Clinton?
Are you kidding? Donald Trump said, I want to speak with and negotiate with and be rational with Vladimir Putin and China and the rest of the world. He apparently did not necessarily embrace this Wall Street shill, warmongering, globalist, whatever this is. Are you kidding me? But I've got to say this, and I'm sure my colleague from the Hill knows this. Do I have to remind you how rather inglorious history regarding what our intelligence has done, not in meddling with elections, but actually subverting them. And when you talk about the press, the CIA, Operation Mockingbird, speaking of the Washington Post, do I have to tell you about our history? Do I have to remind you that we are in no position to sit there and say, how dare you try to affect an election? Do I have to remind you? You know, Tolstoy said history would be a wonderful thing if only it were true. I think your reality would be a wonderful thing if only it were true.
Well, let's give Brent a chance to respond to that.
I say with all due
Brent, the
respect.
accusation is it's worked wonders for the US in the past. Shouldn't other countries be entitled to try using these tactics as well?
Now, who's worked wonders for the U.S. in the past?
Well, I mean, meddling in foreign affairs, in elections in other countries. I'll mention
All right,
Central
look,
America, South America. The US has interfered, by all accounts.
No, I opposed the invasion of Iraq in 2002. I opposed the Contra War, and I was actively involved with democratic countries at the head of state level, working with Reagan's special ambassador to end the Contra War and to get an election in Nicaragua instead of a war. It hasn't worked well in the past in many occasions. But, you know, people can come on and say what they like. They can pretend there was no hacking. They can pretend that the Russians did not try to intervene in the American election. There are reasons that people who've been in the intelligence business, not political, by the way. Clapper was never political. That's a lie. He's not a Democrat or Republican. Most of these people are not. And to say they are is a lie. It isn't. Yeah, go giggle. Go ahead. Say what you want. I am just
He's
telling you
political
the real
because his
politic
fealty
of the
is to
thing
the
that...
state, is to the power structure.
Daniel, let's assume that the proof comes
that
forward.
That doesn't happen in Russia.
Let's assume the
that
proof
never happens in
appears
Russia,
next
does it?
week. We're told by senior ranking US officials that all the proof is going to come out. It'll probably be quite technical. Let's say it does come out.
No, all the proof is not going to come out.
Okay, it's not coming out.
What's happened is there have been
some
extensive
proof will come out.
There are briefings going on. There are briefings going on in Congress, literally as we sit here right now, about this. Not everything is going to be public, and anybody that suggests it should be doesn't know how this thing works and is not playing honest with our audience. The fact is, though, there are virtually no Democrats, no Republicans, no independent. I'm not even going to debate that. There are virtually no Democrats, no Republicans, no independents in Congress who agree with either of you guys. I'm sorry. It's almost unanimous in Congress. You don't believe me? Watch what happens in sanctions when the new Congress gets going. I want to prevent that and improve relations, but hiding behind fake news like my friends here are doing, nice try. It ain't going to work. That ain't the real world.
I feel like
I'm
we're
sorry.
discussing the existence of Santa Claus, but no one's produced any proof yet.
A quick point, actually.
Go on, one final word for you, Daniel. Go ahead.
I hate to pick on Brent, but this is very sad when you see a journalist whose main point is you've got to just trust the government. Just trust the government. Don't question the government. It's really
not my point.
Symbolism of the Washington mindset.
That's not my point.
Everything that's wrong with our politics in our country.
Guys, I'm going to have to wrap things up there. You've been great value entertainment-wise, and we've learned a bit as well, I'm sure. Many thanks. On the left of our screens, Daniel McAdams, Executive Director of the Ron Paul Institute. In the middle, we've got Brent Badowski, columnist for The Hill. And on the right, he's probably always right. I'm sure he tells everybody this. It's Lionel. Thank you to you all, guys.